Don't let this segment mess our man.
I'm so protective of her because I know what she up against.
There's trouble brewing in the world of Steve Harvey, and it's not the kind that can be smoothed over with a few jokes or motivational speech. The beloved television host and comedian known for his sharp suits and even sharper wit has seemingly vanished from the public eye, leaving fans and insiders alike scrambling to piece together the puzzle. Whispers about his sudden departure from the United States have ignited a firestorm of speculation, and the timing couldn't be more suspicious. Harvey, who has built a career on telling others how to navigate life's challenges, appears to be facing a storm so fierce it's driven him and his family into total silence. And if the rumors are even half true, this isn't just about family drama or retreat from the limelight. It's about a connection to one of the entertainment industry's most shocking scandals.
I'm having a bad day right now.
4 weeks now, the chatter around Harvey's abrupt exit has been getting louder. What began as quiet murmurs in gossip columns has grown into a full-blown media frenzy. Closed projects, liquidated assets, and a near-total disappearance from social events. This isn't the Steve Harvey the world knows. And it's not just the speed with which he seemingly shut down his public life. It's the lengths he's reportedly gone to in order to protect his family from what's coming. Sources close to the comedian have hinted that he sold off large portions of his real estate portfolio in record time, unloading properties in what looks like a panicked rush to sever ties with anything that could keep him tethered to the United States. And then there's the issue of his professional commitments, or rather, the lack of them. Harvey, who's typically booked solid with television appearances, hosting gigs and business ventures, has gone eerily quiet. No announcements, no high-profile events, just a deafening silence.
I can't really tell you what's wrong with kids, but I can tell you what the hell wrong with him.
But it's the rumors of a connection to Diddy Combs that have turned this story into something more sinister. Diddy, once the king of the music world and a master of reinvention, has been drowning in allegations so explosive they've left his empire in tatters and lawsuits. Federal investigations and reports of once glamorous parties hiding a much darker reality have painted a picture of a man whose influence may have been built on more than just business savvy and star power. And now Steve Harvey's name is being whispered alongside his. The connection? Those infamous parties, the ones that have become the stuff of scandal and intrigue, where the guest lists were as exclusive as they were secretive. Word is Harvey was a regular fixture at these gatherings, mingling with the elite, sharing laughs, and if the rumors are to be believed, witnessing things that might now be coming back to haunt.
But you gotta understand, you gotta forgive your fathers, because they human too. They made mistakes.
It's hard to ignore the timing of it all. Just as the walls start closing in on Diddy with lawsuits piling up and witnesses coming forward, Harvey decides to exit stage left. It's almost too convenient to be a coincidence. And while Harvey's public image has always been one of wholesome advice and family values, the connection to these events paints a far more complicated picture. These weren't just any parties. These were the kind of gatherings that insiders have described as untouchable, where the rules of the outside world didn't seem to apply in lavish settings. High-profile attendees and enough secrecy to fill a dozen tell-all books. And now lists are reportedly being compiled implicating those who attended, those who knew and those who might have stayed silent. If Harvey's name appears on those lists, it could be the kind of revelation that changes his legacy forever.
I can tell you some hard parts for me.
What's even more unnerving is the sheer scale of what's being alleged. Diddy's legal troubles aren't just about him, they're about a network, a system, a culture of silence that allowed the unthinkable to happen while the world looked on in admiration. And while Harvey hasn't been directly accused of any wrongdoing, the proximity alone is damning and Hollywood perception is everything. And being linked to a scandal like this can be just as damaging as being at the center of it, whether Harvey was an active participant, a passive observer, or simply a guest who didn't ask. Too many questions. The fallout could hit him just as hard. That's the reality of guilt by association in a world where the lines between power and accountability are often blurred.
It's like haters. When you get haters, people's opinion of you is none of your business. I have lots of haters.
Behind the scenes, insiders are scrambling to understand just how deep this connection goes. There are whispers of photographs, guest lists, and even potential testimonies that could confirm Harvey's presence at these gatherings. And while his team has remained tight-lipped, the silence is starting to speak volumes. If there's nothing to hide, why not address the rumors? Head on. Why not offer an explanation, a denial, or even a simple reassurance to his fans? Instead, there's been nothing but an eerie quiet, as if every word is being weighed against potential consequences. It's a strategy that might work in the short term, but as the investigation into Diddy's activities continues to unravel, the pressure will only build.
So I don't give them no energy. I give haters no energy. Steve ain't this, he thinks he this. You don't even know me.
And then there's a question of why Harvey would have been there in the first place. What drew him into Diddy's orbit and what kept him coming back? The two men on the surface couldn't be more different. Harvey, the clean-cut television personality with a knack for self-help advice, and Diddy, the flashy mogul with a reputation for excess. But dig a little deeper and the similarities become clear. Both men are masters of reinvention, self-made success stories who built empires from the ground up. Both thrive on relationships, on being at the center of the action, and on controlling the narrative. It's not hard to imagine how their paths might have crossed or how Harvey might have found himself drawn into a world that promised exclusivity and influence. But what's harder to understand is why he stayed. As more details emerge about the parties and the allegations surrounding them, the picture grows darker. These weren't just social gatherings. They were a stage for power plays where deals were made, secrets were shared, and boundaries were pushed. For someone like Harvey, who's built his career on being relatable and trustworthy, the association is a dangerous one. It raises questions about his judgment, his choices, his ability to separate himself from a world that's now under intense scrutiny, and with reports of lists being compiled and tapes being reviewed, the stakes couldn't be higher.
To check me and be like, hey, what you doing? You good? You shake out of it. You make you like, okay, you're great.
What's clear is that this story is far from over. Harvey might have hoped that by stepping back, selling off assets, and retreating into the shadows, he could avoid being dragged into the spotlight. But in Hollywood, the past is a way of catching up with you no matter how fast you run. And as the investigation into Diddy's activities continues to deepen, it's only a matter of time before the truth or something close to it comes to light. For now, all eyes are on Harvey, waiting to see if he'll break his silence or remain a ghost of the man the world once knew. And just like that, the narrative takes an even darker turn even as Steve Harvey's public life crumbles under the weight of unanswered questions. A storm brewing within his family is no less chaotic. For all his carefully cultivated image as a patriarch of a modern blended family, the cracks in the Harvey household have become impossible to ignore, and at the center of it all, Lori Harvey Steve's stepdaughter finds herself tangled in a web of unresolved tensions and explosive allegations that threaten to pull the entire family into the abyss.
Steve and I have been drilling this into our daughters.
Lori Harvey, the socialite model, and until recently the darling of high society, has always known how to command attention, but now the whispers surrounding her past relationship with Diddy are growing louder, more pointed, and far more damaging. What was once dismissed by many as tabloid gossip, a fleeting romance between a rising starlet and a music mogul, has now taken on a far more sinister tone in light of the accusations against Diddy, and the spotlight is turning towards Steve Harvey, the man who allegedly facilitated her introduction. What started as an innocent acquaintance has now become a lightning rod for speculation. Did Steve know about the undercurrents of Diddy's private life? And if he did, how could he possibly justify letting Lori anywhere near him?
That's advice they've given you. Just remember that you're the prize at all times. Boom. That's advice.
Tension between Steve and Lori has reportedly reached a boiling point. Insiders close to the family describe a relationship that has grown strained, if not outright fractured, over the past few months. Lori, fiercely independent and unafraid to distance herself from controversy, is said to be furious at the implication that her stepfather could have knowingly placed her in harm's way. The once glamorous image of the Harvey family vacations and Italy red carpet appearances and public declarations of love are beginning to unravel, replaced by a palpable sense of unease. Lori's silence on the matter speaks volumes for someone who's never shied away from addressing rumors head-on. Her refusal to comment on her stepfather's involvement with Diddy's inner circle only fuels a narrative that there's more here than meets the eye.
Didn't Diddy's son date her?
Yes, that cannot be true.
Diddy and Lori Harvey, they're meeting things up in Italy. Notice her arm is on the back of his hair.
The fractures don't stop there. Marjorie Harvey, Steve's wife and the matriarch of the family, is reportedly grappling with her own internal battle. For years, she stood by Steve's side, weathering scandals and whispers about her own controversial past, yet now the weight of this latest controversy appears to be too much to bear. Rumors of potential divorce have been swirling. And while neither party has commented publicly, the signs are hard to ignore. Marjorie has been noticeably absent from Steve's recent public appearances or What few remain, and sources claim she's been quietly seeking legal counsel to protect her reputation and her assets. After all, Marjorie has her own legacy to consider, and being dragged into this firestorm could reignite scrutiny over her previous marriages, both of which were to men with less than savory reputations. The last thing she needs now is to be painted as complicit in a scandal of this magnitude.
49. Diddy is 49 years old. Oh, man! That is a 27-year difference.
What makes Marjorie's position even more precarious is the sheer volume of skeletons that could come tumbling out of the Harvey family closet if the situation escalates. Her previous partner's legal troubles were well documented, and her ability to escape unscathed has always been the subject of speculation. Now, with Steve's name being linked to Diddy's infamous parties and the potential fallout from Lori's past relationship with the mogul, Marjorie's carefully curated image of elegance and resilience hangs by a thread. The question is not just whether she'll stand by Steve, but whether she can afford to.
I think it's more interesting that Steve Harvey's there.
And while the Harvey family tries to hold their crumbling foundation together, the investigation into Diddy's alleged activities continues to pick up steam. New details emerge almost daily, each more shocking than the last witnesses, former staff members, and even alleged victims have come forward, painting a picture of a world so far removed from the glitz and glamour of celebrity life that it feels almost surreal. And yet it's real enough to have sent shock. Wave through Hollywood the implications are staggering. If Diddy's alleged behavior was as widespread and systematic as it now appears, who else was involved, who else knew, and who else like Steve Harvey might find themselves implicated by association. What's even more alarming are the alleged links between these parties and an intricate network of industry players, some of whom are said to wield enormous influence in entertainment circles, from producers to executives. Whispers have emerged suggesting that Diddy's gatherings may be more than just a playground for the elite. They may have doubled as informal power brokering sessions where careers were made and broken. Attendees allegedly understood an unspoken code. Participation came with rewards, but refusal could mean a swift end to opportunities. And now, with the investigation peeling back the layers of secrecy, the fallout threatens to sweep up anyone who ever even brushed against this shadowy underworld. Could Steve Harvey, with his extensive connections and ubiquitous media presence, have been a pawn or worse a player in this game? Even more chilling are the suggestions that some who attended these events may have been drawn in unwittingly, only to find themselves trapped by secrets they couldn't afford to have exposed. Rumors abound of leverage being used, photos, recordings, or simply the whispers of association to keep people quiet, compliant, and useful. It's a system that thrives on fear. And as the investigation unfolds, the question becomes who will break first. Legal experts have hinted that prosecutors are already working on immunity deals to encourage insider testimonies, which could open the floodgates. If someone tied to Diddy's circle decides to name names, the ripples could turn into a tidal wave, dragging down even those who thought they distanced themselves long ago.
Her mother is 54 years old. Her mother is 5 years old.
And then there's the question of why it took this long for the walls to come crashing down. 4 years. Diddy's extravagance was celebrated. His larger-than-life persona was a staple of celebrity culture. But now critics argue that the warning signs were always there, hiding in plain sight, from the secrecy surrounding his parties to the whispers that followed him from city to city. It seems almost impossible that so many people could have missed what was happening. Did they turn a blind eye, or were they just too afraid to speak up? And where does Steve Harvey fit into that timeline? Was he simply another attendee swept up in the allure? Or did he see more than his letting on?